Hello chess friends, and welcome to your of chess channel, and welcome to a very special game that I prepared for you today. I think this is a perfect day for a perfect Sunday that we have here in Croatia. We have here sunny weather, and later I was invited to a barbecue party, so I will have, I think, a really nice Sunday afternoon. If you have maybe a bad day, I think this game will improve your day for sure, because here you see now the most tactical opening played by the world champion Magnus Carlsen. So we have here Dominguez Paris versus Magnus in the Dragon Sicilian, and it cannot be better because you know, the Dragon Sicilian is never boring. Even the drawish games are so tactically rich, so that's why I think it's really something worth to study. Although white in the beginning has always this kind of an attack, this common Yugoslav attack has an advantage, but of course black also has some counter chances, so it's, as I said, simply the most tactical opening. So let's see now the game. It was played in 2009, where Magnus Carlsen was only 19 years old, but still probably even in that stage probably already the best player in the world. So Dominguez Paris liner opened here with the move e4. We have c5 by Magnus Carlsen, knight to f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight to d4, knight to f6, attacking the e4 pawn, knight to c3, and now after move g6 we have now the Dragon Sicilian. And okay, what to do here? The best way and the most aggressive way and the most common way is to play, of course, the so-called Yugoslav attack, bishop to e3, bishop to g7, and now after move f3, knight to c6, queen to d2. The common strategy about this Yugoslav attack is, of course, to create a kingside attack, trying, of course, bishop to h6, trying to trade off the darks for bishops, and then to launch a flank attack, g4, h4, h5. When black castles here towards the king side, then of course you could maybe include the queen into the attack here on the h file, and you're trying basically to get some kind of a rook and queen battery on the h file and deliver checkmate. So it's, I think, as I said, the best way, but black has several good strategic elements here in the middle game stage. First of all, we have to say black has always the opportunity to attack the position on the c file because it's a semi-open file, has also the opportunity to create himself a flank attack here on the queen side with a6 b5 or a similar idea. So black's main idea is to create a queenside attack. White's main idea is, of course, to create a kingside attack, because we will have probably again this opposite side attack game where both kings will be on opposite sides of the board, and who is faster on the attack will probably win the game. So if you are interested more into this opening, we have recently covered some wild games played in top engine level between Lila C0 and Stockfish 15 in this particular opening. It's really wild how the engines are playing this opening, so you can also check it out. Here's the link of our Yugoslav attack mini series, sort of. So here, after move queen to d2, kingside castling was played by Magnus Carlsen. We have bishop to c4, so still the main line of the Yugoslav attack, bishop to d7, queenside castling, rook to b8. Here Magnus is choosing a different line, although you have, in some occasions, as we said, you can play rook to c8, and then here you can play knight to a4, attacking the bishop maybe here on c4. But Magnus is preparing immediately a queenside attack. In my opinion, this is one of the best ways to proceed here, although the rook to c8 move is more common, but this move rook to b8 at least creates some kind of a counterplay. When you are playing the rook to c8, then in some occasions you will probably have to even sacrifice the rook for a knight here on c3. If it's risky, if you're not maybe such a great tactician, if you're not maybe if you're scared maybe sometimes to give up the rook for the exchange, go into this line because it's a more direct line with a6 b5 or knight to a4, knight to a5 b5. You can immediately create a flank attack. So here in the continuation we have bishop to b3 by Dominguez Paris liner, knight to a5 immediately by Magnus Carlsen, and now comes the main goal. As we said, bishop to h6, we want to get rid of the bishop, h4 h5, open in the h file, and then deliver checkmate somehow here with the beautiful rook and queen battery. So Magnus plays an interesting line, bishop to h6. He's decoying the queen a little bit towards the king side. This is not wrong, because because still this knight is a good protector of the h7 square. So even if this h file opens somehow, still you have a good defensive piece in front of the king. So here in the continuation, after move queen to h6, Magnus plays now this normal idea b5, and you see now, at least in this scenario, black slowed down a little bit the pawn attack. White didn't push pawn so far in order to attack here black's king. Meanwhile, black is doing already something, although the evaluation, the computer evaluation, is always slightly better here for white. But I liked here really Magnus Carlsen's choice. At least he showed that he's also trying to attack the position. So here g4, we have knight takes b3, we have knight takes b3, and now b4. So you have to be fast in this types of positions where both players are attacking their opponent's kings, because if you just lose maybe one tempo, if you just lose too much time, then your opponent will be faster. So you see Magnus is playing the game here really aggressively. So we have knight to d5. This is a good move by Dominguez Perez Liner, because he's now trying to deflect this knight from f6 from the protection of the h7 square. So you see Dominguez is also playing here really good continuation. So here in the continuation, we have knight to d5, e takes d5. Now we have also another strategic element, another opportunity here for white. It's now the e file, this open file. Now white can use also this file in order to make progress. So we have now rook to b6, and this is must know theory that Magnus Carlsen pulled off here. I'm not seeing any other good move here here instead of this move rook to b6, because this move rook to b6 is protecting the d6. What Magnus is trying to do now, he's trying to play the move e5, maybe f6, rook to f7. He's trying then to keep maybe the 7th rank protected, but he has also maybe here a nice blocking system with the move e5. If d takes e6 en passant happens, then at least you have your d6 protected. So it's, I think, sort of a must move that Magnus Carlsen pull off. I don't like any other possibility here for black, because if you don't do that, then h4 h5 is coming in a fast way. So white could have, I think, really decent games. So that's why rook to b6, we have rook to e1, and from this point on, I think the game is going into black's favor, because this was a huge mistake, I think, by Dominguez Perez Liner. It's not a mistake that makes you lose immediately, but this is not the way to go in the Yugoslav attack. This is simply a bad move, because you want to stay with your rook on the h file. That was your main goal in the beginning, that was your main idea in the beginning. Now you're changing a little bit the direction of the attack. I've said, okay, the e file can be used as an attacking element, but you can do the same with this rook. But I really love the fact that this rook is here on this file. This rook belongs on the h file. It shouldn't be maneuvered to any other file. So as I said, this was now a crucial mistake, I think, in the game. Rook to e1, which allows now Magnus Carlsen to simplify the game, to create this move e5. If you don't react, if you just leave the position like this, as I said, f6 or maybe even f5 will happen, rook to f7, and Magnus will build a good defensive setup. So that's why Dominguez Perez Liner took. We have d takes e6 en passant, we have f takes e6, and now see Magnus open now the f file, has now, okay, this hanging pawn structure. The hanging pawn structure are these two isolated connected pawns in the center of the board. But they're not so weak, I think. They're mobile. The most important thing about these pawns is that they are restricting now the knight on b3 ability to play. Whenever you play a bishop versus knight middle game stage, one of your main goals is to restrict the knight's ability to play. So basically you're asking yourself the question, where could this knight move, where could this knight improve its position? Here you see, in order to make some kind of progress, you could maybe play knight to a5, maybe then knight to c4, or maybe knight to d2, knight to c4. You could also play maybe knight to d4, but then you don't have good squares because everything is messed up here. You can protect, of course, the e6 pawn. So the knight on b3 is a little bit loose on the board. So here in the continuation, we have rook to e3, rook to f7 by Magnus Carlsen. He's just protecting now the 7th rank, because the only way now for white to make progress is this idea, h4 h5, h takes g6, and then maybe to include this rook into the game and somehow again create some madness on the h file. Here in the continuation, we have knight to d2, and maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for black. It's not now a very important stage of the game, but just keep in mind that we want to restrict our opponent's knight's ability to play. So that's why I liked really the next move here by Magnus Carlsen. It is played in this spirit that we want to see, of course. Okay, now Magnus played a really beautiful d5 move. It's nothing special, it's not winning. I'm not saying this move is winning because Magnus pulled off this move, but you see how this knight is really restricted. This knight is paralyzed, it cannot be maneuvered. Dominguez Perez Liner is searching now for opportunities how to get the knight back into the game, and the knight is out. And the cool part is that this is a mobile pawn. This is a mobile pawn. This pawn will roll here in the center, will create probably some madness. So that's why you see Dominguez had to retreat with the knight. He's again searching for the opportunity to get maybe this square for the knight, but now Magnus is saying no, your knight will not play in this game. Although we have to say this light square bishop is not also a good piece so far, but it's much better, I think, than the knight, because now the knight is simply out of game. So we have now king to b1, rook to b8. Now when Magnus solved every problem on the 6th rank, you see the bishop is protecting the e6. When Magnus solved every other problem here on the 7th rank, he retreated now, and he's trying now with the move rook to b8 to connect the queen to the a5 square, and he's now trying to make progress a5, a4, and then just to open the position in front of white's king. So we have a rook to e1, we have a rook to c8 attacking now the c2 weakness, we have a rook to e2, and now queen to b6. So Magnus is just getting the pieces better. d4 is now also a nice goal. d4, d3 maybe open than the c file. So we have h4, we have d4, and now rook to e5 here by Dominguez Perez Liner. And now comes this idea d3. This is a must move, I think, here for black, because you don't want to keep the position here static. You want to open the position. You're playing basically in the spirit of this opposite side attack game, where you're trying to open a position, you're trying to get the king naked a little bit. We have to say the king is a little bit weird here. There are no pieces on the 1st rank, so there are even some back rank problems here for Dominguez Perez Liner to handle. So this is really a nice move here by Magnus Carlsen. So we have here after move d3, c takes d3, and now after rook to f3 that Magnus Carlsen played, we have now d4. So here in the continuation, bishop to b5. So again, Magnus Carlsen plays really actively. We have rook to e3, and now bishop to d3. Very nice move here by Magnus Carlsen. He is getting the king even towards here the edge of the board, towards the square a1. And now really there are some back rank problems. If, for instance, this knight moves, then we have here some opportunities to play the move rook to c1. So now Magnus pulled off probably the best move of the game. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for black. It's really a nice tactical shot that Magnus Carlsen pulled off here. Again, I'm pointing out this is not a move that's winning immediately, but it's a great tactical shot that, of course, Magnus Carlsen saw and gives him here really a pleasant game. Okay, I'll give it just a couple more seconds. Okay, Magnus played here brilliant queen takes d4, queen sacrifice. So of course knight takes d4 is not working. As we said, the knight gets deflected, you get checkmated. The same thing happens here if you try something like rook to f3. If you grab the rook, then of course queen to g1 is going to happen. Look at this, queen to c1 is not possible. This square is taken, and you just can't prolong the game. Maybe just push rook to f1, rook to e1, knight to c1. You're just placing pieces in front of the queen on the 1st rank, but you just prolong the game, so it's a checkmate. So after move queen takes d4, we have here rook to e6 by Dominguez Perez. We have rook to f1, a nice check. We have rook to e1, and now queen to g4. So Magnus Carlsen took a pawn. So all out of this tactical sequence, sequence, Magnus Carlsen got now a middle game slash end game stage where it's simply up a pawn, which is very, very good. And I'm not seeing here good ways for white to continue the pressure. I think Magnus Carlsen defended this position very, very easily. So we have rook to f1. Magnus takes now this rook. This is much more important to take out this one. We have here knight to c5 attacking the queen, also attacking the bishop, but now queen to e2. Here Magnus is not allowing this knight takes d3 idea. He's simply attacking the rook. We have rook to c1, bishop to f5. That's the way, again, as we said in the middle of the video, whenever you play against the knight, you want to restrict his ability to play. So now on this square, Magnus Carlsen took very important squares for the knight, although so far the queen is protecting the e4 and e6 square, but you want to play freely with your queen, and if you do that, then of course the knight cannot jump here on e6. So really, really nice restriction ideas here by the world champion Magnus Carlsen. So queen to f4, we have now a5, natural idea, continue the pressure, h5, queen to e7. This is also a nice move. You see now why, because here Dominguez Perez liner played queen to c4, and now Magnus found a beautiful defensive idea, bishop to e6. There were maybe some better moves when it comes to computer relations, but this is really the most beautiful way how Magnus Carlsen play. Of course, queen to e6, bishop to e6 is possible because queen to e6, knight to e6 leads again into checkmate here for black. So even if you take with the knight, then of course the queen is hanging on the c5. Really, really nice tactical shot. So we have here queen to c2, queen to g5. Again, Magnus Carlsen plays on the same tactical shot. Even if you tried this one, knight to e6, then you get queen to c1, check, rook, queen takes c1, rook to c1. Again, a beautiful checkmate. So after this move, h takes g6 was played. We have h takes g6, a3. Here Dominguez Perez is trying to get some breathing spaces for the king. We have b takes a3, and now in the continuation, queen to c3 here by Dominguez Perez liner. This was now the only chance maybe here. The idea is clear. He's trying now to get the rook on h1 and deliver maybe some annoying checks here on h8, but this is not working because Magnus Carlsen's much faster in the attack. a takes b2, king to b2, now queen to d5, here trying again some annoying checks here on a2. So that's why here we have rook to c2, and now Magnus Carlsen played simply here the move a4, although queen to a2 is also working. Is already a lost game here for white. So we have here now king to a1, a3. Magnus Carlsen simply pushed the pawn further. If you of course retreat here, then you face also some annoying checks, so this is not working. So we have now queen to e3, we have bishop to f7, queen to c3. Now Magnus Carlsen pushes this other pawn to g5, queen to e3, and now rook to e8. So again, a very nice attack against the queen, and now there are some threats of rook to e1. So queen to c3 was played by Dominguez Perez liner, also protecting now the e1 square, and now we have rook to e2. But can you maybe find a better continuation? Here rook to e2 was played by Magnus. It's perfectly fine. Still black is much better. Still black is winning the game, but can you find even a much better continuation here for black, even a more attractive one, but even wilder, but it's much more correct line that unfortunately for the game Magnus Carlsen missed. But we want to also of course practice some tactics here, so test your mind, try to see now the best continuation. So okay, I hope you saw this one. This would be a beautiful, this would really deserve this kind of an end. This beautiful game would deserve this move. Queen to d4 is a brilliant tactical shot. If you take, of course, then again we have this one, rook to e1 is a beautiful checkmate, because you can just bring again new pieces in between, but you just prolong the game. This pawn is cutting off the king's ability to escape on b2, and the bishop is of course cutting off the escape route here for white on the square a2. So really this would be a nice tactical shot. You could maybe just play here this kind of a move, knight to d3, protecting now your square e1, but it's not getting better. Even this is working. Queen to d3 with the same tactical shot, and the game would be probably over. So It's really stunning tactic. So here after move rook to e2, we have knight to b3, we have rook to c2, and now after move queen to c2, the problem is now you have to play queen to e5. If you take here the knight on b3, look how wild chess can really become. After move queen to b3, many of us, I think, would immediately play this move and would say I'm winning this for sure, but actually queen to b3 is a draw, because you just play queen to h7, you're sacrificing the queen, and if of course black takes, then it's a stalemate. You don't have moves here for the king. Even if you, I don't know, try something like king to f8, then we play here just queen to h6, and we're just chasing the king until the king takes out the queen, and then it's stalemate. Black's king cannot escape from some checks by white queen, so it would be a forced checkmate sequence for sure. So after move queen to c2, look at this. Magnus Carlsen didn't fall for this. He played simply queen to e5, king to b1, after king to g7, queen to d2. Now Magnus Carlsen took, and in this position Dominguez Perez liner resigned. So really great game, I think. Beautiful elements we have seen here in the Dragon Sicilian in the Yugoslav attack. I really was curious when we analyzed a month ago more games about Yugoslav attack. I was curious who of the top grandmaster level played the Dragon Sicilian with the black pieces. I wanted to study it a little bit more, and I found really this beautiful game, and also some other games that we'll cover, of course, in the continuation of my YouTube chess channel. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting tactical ideas for sure. If you know more, or if you want to know more about the Yugoslav attack of the Dragon Sicilian, check out my mini series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you want to see also some other cool games from the past, check out my commented chess games played by computers and my best chess games of all time series here on my YouTube chess channel. Here are also the links, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.